Alright, today I'm gonna make some chili. I've been really wanting to make this. So, I've got some ground beef. Normally I would use bison. Bison is really good, but this is all I could find. And then you need some salsa. So I have one that's kind of like thin, liquidy salsa, and then I have one that's more like a thick kind of corn, and they blend together nicely. And then just some beans. So I've really only got I've only got one type of bean, which is black beans. So that'll do. And then, actually also tortilla chips. Very good in chili. And then I've got some of these baby avocados. So I might do two of these because they're so small. Actually, I might put some garlic in there. Garlic is really good. Broccoli for a vegetable. Maybe some hot sauce. And I think that should be it. I mean, normally I would include Mexican cheese, like that blended up Monterey kind of cheese, but I don't have any, unfortunately. So this is what we need. I just need a cutting board now. I also, the title, obviously. I want to talk about Imposter Syndrome as well, because I was watching some videos the other day, and I it's funny how YouTube and Instagram and all these websites get it's really good at predicting what you want to watch, because I kept getting recommended these types of videos where it was some guy sharing an opinion about just do the work and just grind and saying you need to get some experience first before you ever dare make YouTube content or whatever you're trying to do. And I was just I hard disagree with that. I feel like everyone at a certain point just needs to pull the trigger and just start, and you're not going to be perfect right away. So I'll talk about it more once I make chili, but that's the topic of today's video. So this is probably a good amount of broccoli. My technique, I wasn't even mentioning it because I was talking too much, is I get a stem of broccoli, just cut off the bottom bit, and then just cut it up into roughly this size piece, a size that you could eat in one bite. Because I cannot stand eating broccoli when it's you steam this thing, and it's I can't eat this whole thing at once. And yeah, I just like to make it a lot more digestible that way. One thing that my family makes fun of me for is I always like to eat in a massive bowl. They straight up call it a trough, like I'm a pig. And you know what, man? It might be unsightly, it might be heavy and bulky, but putting everything in one bowl it's really efficient, number one. But also, I just like to mix all my flavors together. I feel like that makes for a more interesting meal. And, I guess we could season it now since it's in the bowl. One thing actually I've been thinking about doing, because I'm so lazy, I don't even like to grind the pepper, is just put up straight up, peppercorns in there. They're really strong, though. Pepper is a very strong spice, so don't put too many. All right, so we'll use that for later. But good to have that prepped. I used to have, or actually we still have it. I used to use this little garlic press thing. Yeah, right here. You would get the whole clove of garlic and put it in there and then smash it, and then it, squeezes through. But this thing is a bitch to clean, and I just find that chopping up garlic into little pieces is just as good. I mean, unless you're making maybe a sauce where you need to have it really fine, then I can understand that, but I like to just chop it up. So it's a little bit difficult getting the skin off of garlic because it does have this little layer that you should peel off, but not too bad. And then I just chop it up into roughly that size. I know some people don't like the smell of garlic, garlic breath, but this stuff is it's so spicy, it's so good, and it's good for you. This is one of the things that you'd really benefit having in your diet. I remember my mom, anytime we would get sick as kids, or anytime she gets sick, she just eat a bunch of garlic, man. It's surprisingly good at warding off a cold, or I don't know what the science is behind it, but you definitely feel better, and it's kind of that warm, and it kind of gives you a warm burning sensation when you eat it. This might take me a while because it's sticky as shit, but I'll just cut to when this is all chopped up. All right, the rest of that's just kind of scrap, so that's a good amount of garlic. It's really strong, like pepper, so, you know, you don't need too much. One thing that I've discovered in cooking garlic is that if you do cook it, if you do throw it into like a boiling pot of whatever, then it actually loses a lot of strength. So I like to just add it on top at the end, so I tend to just put it on like a paper towel. And then when I'm ready to, you know, put everything in the bowl, everything's already cooked, I just throw this on top because that way it's still really spicy and it still has like a lot of kick, because that just must be like how raw garlic is. Like it has the most kick, and then when you cook it, it gets weaker. You gotta be careful going to the trash can to not go too fast because the wind will blow the garlic skin away. All right, now we can move on to the avocado. So this is my technique. I just kind of cut in it half. Oh, that is perfect, dude. Man, good. When avocado is ripe and you know, good like that, that's when it's really good. But when it gets all like brown, ugh, you know, you want to eat it when it's nice and ripe. All right, so my technique with the pit is you just kind of like smack it with the knife like that, and then I just bang it against the trash can until it falls off, like that. Actually, getting the avocado out is I do this. I go down straight, and then I do these little like marks across, and then I go along the side. It takes a little bit of practice, but this is pretty efficient. And this, I'm writing a course right now for health. It's literally going to be called Health Optimizations. I'm going to have a section about nutrition, obviously, because that's important to your health. And then I'm probably going to talk about some really good foods like garlic and whatnot. But if there's one food that I had to pick, man, to just balance out your health, it probably would be avocado. Like, this stuff is really, really good for you, and it tastes great. Not too expensive. I feel like that little, would you say, like little net of avocados is only like, I don't know, $6 for 6 of them. So not that bad. You know, I don't really know what's in avocado that makes it so good for you, but it's just like, it's a really good source of fat. I know that. And God, I kind of made too much, but I love this stuff. So if you like avocado, I would definitely recommend you eat, like, I probably have one a day. We'll put this on top at the last part, so just keep that there for now. All right, now for the fun part. I'm gonna get this beef out of this little packet, and there's probably an intended way to do this, but I just tend to, you know, kind of poke it on the side and then just go along the edge. There we go, that's probably good enough. Then, you know, you just pretty much straight up toss it in the pan, so there we go. There's probably more efficient tools. Like, I've seen those people, they have it's like, it goes straight down and it's like a 6-sided, like hexagonal mashing thing, and it looks really useful for meats, but I don't have one, so this was best I can do. So beef and bison and all this stuff, it gets easier to cut up as it gets hotter, so that's pretty much the best I can do right now. I'll start on the seasoning. So obviously chili it tastes like chili when you have chili seasoning, so I've got this good seasoning blend, and put like a decent start, and then we could do some peppercorns. Oh, that's a lot. Okay, well, it's gonna taste like pepper. You know, we're not gonna cook the chili in this, obviously. We need a proper pot. So I've got this pretty decently sized pot here. And I mean, chili's really easy because all we have to do is just put this stuff in the pot. So let's take our salsa. This one I'm probably gonna need a spoon for because it's so thick. Because you really want chili, you want the beef in the chili to be really like fine, like almost like ground beef. So this is way too big still. Gotta mash it up. You don't want to drain too much of the bean juice because chili's like, it's almost like a soup. So you want to have a nice amount of liquid. Jeez. I'm not very graceful opening these things. Yeah, so that's more like ground beef now, so that's more like what I'm talking about. So obviously, beef and red meat has a lot more fat in it, and you know, some people have their opinion like, oh, fat, it's what gives it flavor and all that. And I can get behind that, but I feel like that's probably a little bit, like, you don't really want to be drinking that. So I've got kind of a bootleg technique where I drain the fat. So I take the top and I just kind of like jam it in like that, and then just drain it over this little bowl. Yeah, there we go. So like, look at all that fat that you would have been drinking if you didn't do that. So definitely would recommend doing that just for your own health. Dump this in here. And dude, the great thing about chili is I made it a couple weeks ago, and I swear it lasted me like 6 or 7 meals. Like, this is such a good meal prep food because it's so easy to make, and then, you know, you take some spoonfuls out and you put the rest in the fridge, and it's like super easy. And now a great thing about chili too is normally for broccoli I would steam this and I would need another pot and another dish to wash, but you know, you can just do that. And we obviously want to cover up the chili for the broccoli to get steamed and all that, but I don't actually have a top that fits it, so I have to use the one that I just used for the beef, so it looks a little silly, but it gets the job done. Alright, so now we just have to wait pretty much. That's all the work done. I guess while we're waiting, I could talk about the imposter syndrome thing, the idea I had. I was basically just watching a Hamza video, and he was talking about, there was some young guy in his community asking for advice of what he should do, I think, with his life. And he advised him to like go have an adventure, go get some life experience first, and then, okay, I think he was talking about becoming a YouTuber, and he was like, then you can become a YouTuber. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I can understand that. Like, you do want to come into the space with some knowledge. That helps a bit. But I feel like that would be, like, for me, that would be like contrary to what I'm doing on YouTube, because I approach it more with this lens of like, I'm just gonna do things, and I know that I'm a noob. I know that I have not that much experience with life, but that's almost like the beauty of it. That's why I'm excited to wake up and make a video, because I'm like, you know what? I know I'm not perfect, but I feel like the relatability is there, and I'm just a guy figuring it out versus like these influencers that are coming into space and like, well, I've already been doing business for 10 years, and like, you know, I don't know. I feel like there's a place for both, and if you have the experience coming into it, that's great. But I feel like where the imposter syndrome comes into play is when people take that advice and they're like, oh, well, I'm not good enough, so I'm not even going to try yet. And it's kind of like when you want to have kids, you know, and people say like, oh, well, you're never going to feel like you have enough money. You're never going to feel ready, like socially or maturity wise, to become a parent, and you just kind of have to do it at some point. And it's the exact same thing with YouTube or any business thing. Like, who cares if someone's like, well, you need to, you know, have $50,000 in your bank account before you can feel ready to do XYZ. And it's like, no, dude, just don't be reckless, but also just do it. And with YouTube, it's like, just get started. Just make content. It doesn't matter if you're like this guy that Hamza was advising. I think he was some teenager. Like, if you're a 16 or 17-year-old and you don't even know what to do, the best thing you can do is to just do something. Because I bet there's lots of people that take that kind of advice and they say, oh, well, go fuck around in Southeast Asia for 2 years. Go to Thailand and become a high-value man. And then the guys come back, none the wiser, and you're still just as uncomfortable in front of a camera. It's like, you didn't actually, like, you know, you got to put in the practice, and no amount of, like, planning and going and living an adventure is going to make you any more prepared. Like, it might give you some confidence of, like, oh, well, I did this thing, so now I could probably do that thing. But a lot of the time, the skills do not translate. And YouTube is a hard game. Like, you can't just hope to become good at it without actually, like, doing it. So I'm just saying, like, don't let it stop you. You know, like, I could look at my channel and be like, oh, well, I really should have had more experience when I started. That way I would have been able to hit this number by then. But it's like, that's not the point, man. The point, at least for me, and maybe for you, is to just grow and learn. And it doesn't matter if you're going to be perfect right out of the gate, because that's just an unrealistic expectation to have. Oh, fuck. This is taking a while, man. I just realized I should be stirring this because the bottom part is not getting cooked at the same rate as the top part. They should add a smell feature to YouTube videos if they could figure out how to do that in 20 years because this shit smells phenomenal. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like at this point, we're just waiting for it to get hot because the beef was already cooked. So whenever the broccoli is done, that's probably when I'll take it out. And you know broccoli is done when it starts to get kind of like dark green. It's still kind of light green. Yeah, dude, I'm excited for that health optimizations course I mentioned. Like, I know some people have a weird thing with courses and they're like, oh, well, I don't want you to sell me an item that feels scammy. But it's like, dude, I'm getting in the weeds with this thing. Like, it's going to be so valuable. And I'm approaching it from a perspective of some YouTubers have mentioned this idea of becoming like a synthesizer where you might not have experience per se in, branched chain amino acids for your diet, but you do have, or you might have the skill of synthesizing the information into a, compact product. Or maybe it's a video, maybe it's a course. And, it's genuinely helpful when someone takes the time to consume like, I don't know, 100, 200 hours of content and make it into a really digestible product, because then, the work is done. And I mentioned this to someone else before. There's a tax finance kind of YouTuber, Max Maher, and he used to make videos about, he would read through like super dense, super boring tax documents and tax news, and then he would basically like tell you like, this is what I found, this is the TLDR basically, and it's really helpful. Like, he's essentially a synthesizer, and that's the approach I'm taking with this health stuff. So like, I'm covering everything I could imagine, like fitness, sleep, nose breathing, skin care, stress, like everything I could possibly think of. And I think it's gonna be really awesome. I'm really excited for it. All right, that's looking really good now. I think we'll probably turn this off. And this is obviously like way more than I could possibly eat right now. Like I said, this is probably gonna last me like 5 meals. So yeah, dude, I really wish I had Mexican cheese because that stuff is so good on top of this. All right, that's probably all I could eat. So I'll just save the rest. I probably want to let that cool down before we put it in the fridge. So let's let that sit. This has, I mean, oh, whoops. Oh, here, get some back. This stuff doesn't really have any health benefit, and I'm not gonna lie. It's just, it tastes good, so that's why I put it on. And then just put our broccoli, or I keep calling it broccoli, our avocado and garlic. This is, I've said many times to my family and friends that if there's any cuisine that I could eat forever, it would be, I guess, South American, just a way to blanket it. Like, Mexican, El Salvadorian food, like, it's so delicious. All right, let's eat. This might be a bit of a tangent, but one interesting thing that I learned today, actually, in writing this health optimizations course is I always thought that processed food was like that's bad, right? Everything that's processed must be bad. But I didn't realize that all that really means is taking food from one state to another, like adding flour and sugar and water or whatever and making cookie dough. Like, that's processing food. And I mean, that's not bad. I mean, cookies aren't the best for you, but it's nothing like the fucking Pop-Tart or like the Twinkie that's like ultra processed and, full of preservatives and starches and adhesives and all this extra stuff. That's what I think most people consider processed food, but I learned that it's not all the same thing. It's not just like a blanket term, like most things in life, honestly. And it was interesting because, that's one thing that I want to add in this course or talk about is that, like, not everything that's processed is bad. It's just like to the degree to which it is processed. Because, and another interesting point, I'm watching this podcast about this, is that when food says that it's like 50% less fat or something is taken out for the benefit of your health, that actually just means that they probably have taken a certain aspect of the food and tried to mimic it with other preservatives and chemicals to make it taste like food, but it's not actually food. And I was like, damn, that's kind of wild, because you look at the packaging of food and it says like, oh, well, 20 grams less of fat. That must be so good for you. But it's like, what are they adding to make it still taste like food, It's not good.
Yeah, dude, I'm really excited for this whole course thing, and it's gonna be it's gonna be a perk of the community that I launch because I've been talking a lot with my accountability partner, Jason, and I presented this idea to him of like, dude, I should launch a community, right? Like I've got this whole channel, people would love to be part of it. And then he was like, yeah, well, what would you offer? And I was like, well, we could just do like weekly calls or something. And he's like, dude, that's like you need more than that. So he was encouraging me to go the course route, and I'm gonna have probably 3 of them done when I do like a pre-launch. So I'm gonna limit the amount of people that can join, and it kind of like when I launched the Flow SMP, my Minecraft server, where I had like a shorter window where only like 25 people could join, and so we get feedback and test it out before we do like the full launch. So I'll probably do that. Only have like 3 of them, and then I plan to have it like at least 10 courses. It's gonna take me freaking ages to write all that though. And then that way it's just gonna be like a lot more valuable, I think, to you because Jason was right that like the calls are nice, but it's like you need to give people way more value than that. So I'm gonna spend a lot of time on like these are not gonna be like shitty influencer courses that people like get no value out of. It's like actually gonna be really it's gonna be a good deal. And just like the Flow SMP, it'll probably be like a monthly thing. So I feel like that just makes it a lot better for you because I do feel like a really weird kind of like snake oil salesman vibe when I see a creator selling a course for like $2,500 a pop. And like I don't doubt that there are some people out there that have knowledge that would be worth that amount of money, but I don't know. I feel like I would just feel weird selling like one course for like $500, you know. Like it probably would be great business wise, but I feel like it's a lot better for me and for you to just like put as much value, like 10 courses or whatever, in a monthly thing. That way, you know, monthly revenue is a lot more stable so that I can, you know, afford to buy things that would improve the channel, but also, you know, $75 a month is a lot more tangible than $1,500 for one course, you know. All right, well, I'm getting full as shit and I'm not even like halfway done with this bowl. So I'm telling you, dude, chili is the ultimate meal prep food. Like this stuff is gonna last me all week probably. So I'll probably just put this in the fridge and call it there. But yeah, dude, just I guess to make one last point for the title of the video, it's like I'm talking about these courses, right? And I'm thinking like, oh well, there's probably gonna be some people that'll look at that idea and be like, well, who are you to write a course? Or like, you have no experience. And I just gotta be like, you know what, man? Fuck imposter syndrome. Like, it doesn't matter that I'm still young because you're like the current version of you, ideally, is going to be the worst version of you that you will ever have. And everything in the future is just going to be a, you know, improved version of that. You know, so like literally every day that I go in and I'm like, okay, today I'm going to research this topic about nutrition. And then tomorrow I'm going to write the module on sleep and I'm going to like absorb all this information. You're getting better. And I just don't want anyone, if they have a goal, to think that they have to wait for some arbitrary deadline or like, oh, well, when I'm 25, then I can do this. It's like, no, dude. There's 16-year-olds out there drop shipping $500,000 a year. Like, there's no reason that you can't do it now. And I mean, like, maybe you can't make your $1 million paycheck now, but you can at least start doing the work that will get you to that goal. And like one example I just forgot, you know, one last thing to mention is that I had this tank top, right? This black, I still have it. This black tank top. And I remember getting it when I was 18, probably when I first started working out. So I was still a lot skinnier. And I remember talking to my friend about like, you know what? I don't know if I should wear this tank top to the gym yet because I'm not big enough. And he looked at me and he's like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, you can wear that if you want. It doesn't matter. And I remember that moment being like, okay, he might be right. And that's really small. It's really trivial, but it's the same exact logic as what I'm talking about here. Like, you know, don't worry about, you know, if you're young or like you have no experience. Like, just do something, you know, because that is experience. Like, you know, the experience that I've gained in this past year from making YouTube videos, and you know, I'm still young, but I've grown a lot. Like, it's tremendous, and Imagine where I would have been if I didn't do anything. If I just kept telling myself like, oh, well, I got to be 24 till I start. Then I can do it. It's like, no, dude, that's bullshit. Just get started. Just do something, you know? Imposter syndrome only has power when you think it does. And if you just like don't believe that it exists for you, then it doesn't. And you're going to do the thing that you have to do. But anyways, I'm getting off topic. So hope you liked the chili video. You should definitely make that recipe. I would recommend it. It lasts freaking ages. But anyways, I'll catch you later.